I was in those days interested very much in the Tulsi Ramayana, but I found also the Narad Bhakti Sutra, and I found it in English from the Gita Press. Don't think you can find it now. It might be in the Research Institute. Yata Gopikanam. The English and some of the poems that they used from English, very, very wonderful. Very, very wonderful. So I haven't got to the Brajbhasha bit yet. So I began to see differences between Hindi and Brajbhasha. And something about the Brajbhasha was like making me mad. I loved it so much. Just, I couldn't explain why or how. I just threw myself into the ocean of Brajbhasha and tried to learn it. And somehow I met, because in those days there's one thing we didn't have, which was the most preventative thing in the world to stop you from learning your languages. Yes, it will tell you what to say, but how did you learn that language into your heart that you get to express yourself in that? And it's the same way as all children learn their language from their mother. Listen and speak. So that's what I did.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Free Radical podcast. Today I've sat at the table with a very special elder, author, scholar, friend, and member of the Sri Vallabh Sampradaya Pusthimarga, Krishna Kinkari. Born and educated in London, Krishna Kinkari first journeyed overland to India in the early 1970s. Driven by a deep longing to immerse herself in India's spiritual culture and sacred languages, under the guidance of her guru, the late Sri Prathameshji of the Pusthimarga tradition, Sri Vallabh Sampradaya, she dedicated herself to the study and translation of devotional texts, particularly in Sanskrit, Hindi, and Brajbhasha. Over the decades, she has transliterated and translated over 20 key scriptures into English, many of them previously unavailable to non-Hindi readers, offering both access and pronunciation guidance through Devanagari transliteration. For many decades already, Krishna Kinkari has been residing in Sri Vrindavan. Now in her mid-70s, she has stepped back from the pressures of publication to embrace a more contemplative life of bhakti. Her days are immersed in service and study, especially of poets and saints and the Rasa-lila tradition. As part of her spiritual pursuits, she also helps coordinate grassroots relief efforts, distributing essentials like food, blankets, and mosquito nets to Vrindavan's street dwellers, wandering sadhus, and laborers. For Krishna Kinkari, this phase of life is devoted to the inner moods of surrender and the living pulse of divine love that breathes through the forests of Braj. So it was a beautiful meeting with Krishna Kinkari, talking about many details of her personal journey of Sri Pusthimarga and its particular philosophy, and some very interesting connections with Gaudiya Sampradaya and other bhakti traditions, her love of Braj, her special devotion to Sri Radha, and many beautiful contemplations and reflections of what it means to actually live a life of surrender, dedication, and seva. So this is the Free Radical podcast. You're more than welcome, and to support it, feel free to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the bell. And if you feel nourished by the conversation, like it, share it, drop your thoughts to keep the conversation ongoing. Without further ado, dear friends, here is Krishna Kinkari. Okay, dear Krishna Kinkari, pranam. Thank you so much for joining us today in our Free Radical
Sri Radha Sarveshwari
Jai Sri Radha.
Rasikeshwara Ganashyam Karahu Nirantaravasme Sri Vrindavan and Dham. Sabe
Bravo.
anga gunahina
Thanks so
hu
much.
Tako jatna na koi. Ek kishori kripa se jo kachu hoy. So hoi. Do you understand the dohas?
I may, but my listeners may not. So if you would like to briefly translate what you just said, that
Just
will be a
said
pleasure.
I am impossibly useless with every limb of my body, and there's really nothing I can do about that. The only thing that has a solution is the grace of Radharani. Nothing else can help me. It comes from the book of the Haridas Sampradaya called the Bayalis Leela, and it has fabulous Brajbhasha, Brajbhasha, 2-line poetries, many, and 4-line poetry. Beautiful. And there's one piece called 100 Verses about Vrindavan. And that one comes from the 100 Verses about Vrindavan.
You have published that one yourself as well? That's one of the many books you've published?
Have I composed one?
Or not that one? Okay.
Yes, a few. But if you ask me if I remember them, the answer may be different.
I won't put you to test to that level. It's fine. So Krishna Kinkari, I always like to remind myself and my audience how I met my different guests. And in your case, Krishna Chandra Prabhu recommended me to meet you in Braj for a few years ago. And I did so. It was great. You filled me with different gifts, your books, your Sangha. You literally bathed me in the dust of Vrindavan. And now you come to become one of my morning lullabies through your delightfully divine, delicious Braja Dohas that you recited one when we began. And you live a life of deep immersion, I will say, in Braja Seva, in Braja Bhajan. So you've chosen to come and speak to us. Thank you. So if you can start telling us a little bit about yourself, because you were born in England, but you have lived in Braj for many decades, probably 50 years or something. So what first brought you there?
I'm a boring subject. However, if you look back, it's interesting that I don't like to compare myself to others, but I find that a lot of the visitors here, very enthusiastic visitors from here, find it difficult to grasp the language. But luckily, in my young years, I was very interested in languages. So I went to school, I learned Latin. I also learned Spanish, but as many years I didn't speak. Hace muchos años no he hablado español, so I don't remember so much, but I also did German and a little bit of Italian. And, in London, we're so international. We speak many languages and language versions. And I always loved translating things. I find this now, remembering this, because both my parents died early in my life, I suppose. So they were not there to remind me. And I used to be a swimmer, like a champion swimmer, competitive swimmer. And we swam for hours on some days, hours. And my father said to me, "What do you think about when you are swimming without stopping?" And I said, "I translate the Beatles songs into Latin." So I have that interest. And I met an old man. I was invited to be a teacher of English in Banaras. And the headmaster, Kailash Pati Singh, taught me Hindi through the Tulsi Ramayan. So it wasn't even in Hindi, it was in Awadhi, the language of Ayodhya. And I found that very interesting. So I got an introduction, good introduction to learning Hindi. And
that was by how long ago approximately?
How long ago?
Kinkari? Yeah. Approx.
That was in, I tell you, 1971. Because it was the war of West and East Pakistan. And we had to live with the windows blacked out. No light allowed in the evenings. Yeah, that was very cold, very warm, very hot. So, would you like to hear something really funny?
I'm anticipating. I saw your laughter and I was like, why is she laughing like that? I want
because
to know.
The school wanted to impress a very rich man to get money. So the headmaster decided to make, an Indian introduction. And so he said, she's a master of the Latin language. She's a master of the German language. She's the master of the French language. She's a master of the Spanish language. And he wanted to say that he wanted to say that I was a master of the Latin language. But to the man who had the money, who was supposed to give the money for the kids, he said, she's a master of the latrine language.
Latrine. Whatever people speak when they go to the toilet, right?
I am afraid I fell on the ground laughing. It was too much funny.
It's
yes,
too much.
But you haven't had the funny bit yet. So I decided to teach the children a song called London's Burning in French.
Okay.
And in it, they sing, London's burning, how terrible. There's no water, there's no water. Pardon, pardon. But the Hindi for there's no water is a direct instruction to pass air. Okay? So I'm teaching the children and they're all making jokes about passing air. So I said, why are they laughing so much? So I had many Hindi teachers. Yeah, you can say. But let's be more sensible now. I was in those days interested very much in the Tulsi Ramayan. But I found also the Narad Bhakti Sutra. And I found it in English from the Gita Press. Don't think you can find it now. It might be in the Research Institute. Yata Gopikanam. The English and some of the poems that they used from English, very, very wonderful. Very, very wonderful. So I haven't got to the Brajbhasha bit yet. So I began to see differences between Hindi and Brajbhasha. And something about the Brajbhasha was like making me mad. I loved it so much. I couldn't explain why or how. I just threw myself into the ocean of Brajbhasha and tried to learn it. And somehow I met, because in those days there's one thing we didn't have, which was the most preventative thing in the world to stop you from learning your languages. Yes, it will tell you what to say, but how did you learn that language into your heart that you get to express yourself in that? And it's the same way as all children learn their language from their mother. Listen and speak. So that's what I did. And I have a friend called Mekla Dasi. Do you know Mekla Dasi? No, she is also a disciple of oh, what's his name? My guru, Prathameshji, big guru of the Matradish temple in Jatipura. And I was lucky to meet his disciple Shamdas from America. And he invited me, and then afterwards Mekla Dasi, to stay in his temple. And because we were already serving takuji, baby takujis, and he just said, come and live in this temple and learn. And she happened to be another language mad person. She, her mother was Russian, Jewish. Her father was Palestinian Arab. She married a Kathak guru because she was very interested in classical dance and became excellent at it, and ended up being the head of the anthropology department at Princeton University. And I remember we were in ISKCON guest house, because in those days there were not so many guest houses or anything. I can remember sleeping on top of the hill under the trees in Barsana. We came up to have darshan of Sriji. And there are no buses, only one bus per day. So you just take a mat and you just sleep on the ground, and that's that. But that's the way you learn. And I happened to have the first chance. And then she said to me, oh, I have to learn Hindi like you. So she married this Kathak guru. Now here's Shamdas. He's lived here for a long time. And Prathameshji thought, oh, there's only one American boy who speaks Hindi like this. And then I came along, Mrs. Grammar. She loves the grammar. She's all Mrs. Particular. The spelling has to be right. So then he said, oh, you have to learn Hindi like Krishna. And then Mekla came along and he said, Krishna, go and sit down and study. Mekla is much better than you. Because she was another one brought up as a dual language person, and, you know, had with multiple painting talents. If you want someone really talented, you need to talk to her. She can paint Srinathji as if it was done by the Paramparas in Natadwara. Yeah.
Where is she
She's
now?
in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure if her life experiences have sent her running a little bit, but yeah, we lived for very many years actually as just Sakis in the forests of Govardhan, Puchli Kalota, all those places.
So in Govardhan was the ashram of your Gurudev,
Temple,
where
yes,
you met
the
him and
actual
stayed with?
temple of Mathuradish. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in Jatipura.
So would you like to tell me what drew you because you are a line connected with the Pushtimarga, with the blessed path of grace of Sri
Yeah.
Vallabh Mahaprabhu. What did call you in that particular sampradaya, in that particular lineage
Oh,
personally?
definitely the main thing is the language, because Sri Vallabhacharya had the four disciples, Surdas, Paramananda Das, Krishna Das, and Kumban Das, who all sang in his temple. And the temple was never without Brajbhasha Kirtan. I've written about a book about it called the Ashtayam Seva Kirtan Pranalika, which gives,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen it, it gives precise descriptions of the activities of Sri Thakurji and Sri Swaminiji at those times of day. So I was just kicked into it, really. Sit down there and sing Yamunashtak with this Tampura. I'd never done it before, but he was such a guru. He just said, do it. And then you sing the guru's praises, then you sing these poets' praises, and then each of the poets sings in a different style activities in all the various little places around there, because you've got Pucharika Lota has Apsara Kunda and another Kunda, and then there's my problem is my memory. I've forgotten where I left it. Yes, and then pick up on the style, the thing that the actual poet wanted to emphasize, like Surdas, who was completely different style from Kumbandas. And then Vallabhacharyaji's son, Sri Vittalnathji, he had also four disciples who were profuse poets. That is Chaturbhuj Das and Govind Swami and Chitta Swami, and who's the last one? Nanda Das. Have you ever looked at Nanda Das's writing?
I
No.
haven't.
It's very, very, extremely into the language details. So being someone who'd been kind of like forced to do all this language studies, but loving it, then I was very happy to have the opportunity, and the library, 20 times bigger than this room I'm sitting in, just full of handwritten library books, and the opportunity to learn, rules of hygiene when there's no water, when there's no electricity, when there's no, and one time I had to go to Mumbai to live in the Guru's house, where he kept a Mathuradish deity. Actually, one day some very violent thieves came to Jatipura, and there were two old ladies who looked after a Mathuradish deity. And they killed one of the women and stole the deity. And nobody knew whether the deity in the temple was the real one or a fake one. So he kept his deities protected like that. And I did not know the complete rules of aparas, being pure for the seva. I learned it eventually, and I was allowed to go into the water house, because they always had Brajvasi men who had to go to the wells. It was traditional to have to bathe with the well. And they used to go with, water pots on their heads and going to the forest and bring water from the wells. So she and I both learned. Actually, Shamdas was also very good at carrying the water pots.
Water carrying.
But there's a phrase in Brajbhasha which says, Ardhabara matakata, Ardhabara mataki chalakata jai, which means that a half emptied water pot makes a lot of noise when it's on your head. So in other words, if you know a little bit, talk a lot. And those who know a lot don't say anything. So many phrases like that. So I have, I'm not going to start reading from them, just to let you know. I have these, little books where I picked up all the sort of things that I know, poems. And I have big ones and small ones and very well written ones, very old pictures all over the place, and then very badly written ones. And I always write myself a note saying, read your diaries, because there's so many things in there that I don't even remember writing them. I used to know, I used to have a friend, a big, enormous Shastriji. He lived at Govind Kund Betak of Mahaprabhuji, because they were all friends of Mahaprabhuji. And he used to say, Bol! And that meant sing the Gopi Jan ke Panch Prem Geet, sing the 5 songs of the Gopis in Sanskrit. Just do it. Follow. So I had to.
Like Benu Gita, Pranaya Gita, Gopi Gita, and so on.
And it was very easy for me. But over some years now, with some health issues, they're not huge, but I think Yamuna Sevika. I mean, she found me half dead on the floor in my room. She had to cut through the window, the mosquito window, and find me on there. So things like that. Some going a little bit more serious. Recently, I got dehydrated and started having little funny spasms in my hands and things. So I haven't really been out to walk around Barsana since I got here. Yeah, we go on distributions down at Gehawara 1 and up on the top of Sriji, mountain from Sriji temple down to the bottom. And, just try to find people who need, you don't have to try to find, you just find people, and you need mats to sit on and clothes to wear, and they always need pain balm, and they always need things.
Yeah, that's something I want to mention, that you are deeply engaged in serving the local inhabitants of Braj in various ways, providing them cloth and food and blankets and other basic necessities. And you are also, Krishna Kinkari, you have been maybe in the past, maybe not so much now, very much engaged in preserving the original Braj culture, not only through publishing many incredible rare texts, but also through promoting Brajalila dramas and other devotional arts. I don't know if you want to share a few words about this important work.
Okay,
I will say.
that's so. Is there at this moment anything particular you want me to do?
to share any thoughts about why it was important for you to promote Braj original culture through drama and different art
Because
forms?
it's the only valid, I would say, literature, an art form that has anything interesting to say about Sri Radha. For me, anyway. The language is completely different. The entrance into the philosophy is completely different. I'm recently just opened up the Swami Yashtakam of Sri Vittalnaji and Swamini Prarthana or Swamini Chatushloki. They're all of Sri Vallabh son. And then the Rishabhanupur Shatakam.
Yeah, you gifted that
If
one to
you
me.
want to know much more about that, you have to ask Hari Radha Charan Das, because he's the expert on the Radha Vallabh Sampradaya. But the words again, well, that's in Sanskrit, and my Sanskrit isn't so good, but I found a book translated from Sanskrit into Hindi. So just put it into English. It's not very good, actually, but, it is very interesting. And if I were going to do another one, I would have to do Nanda Das. Nanda Das is a disciple of Vittalnaji, and his Betak is at Manasi Ganga in Govardhan. And he, his language now, that's beyond, oh my goodness. Yeah, that was, wow. That's like, So I would have to go into Nanda Das. I did do with the member of the Pushtimarga Shri Krishna Leela Sanstan. I did do translations for all of the selected pads. There's somebody called R. Dhanuka who's written books. He's written one book for each of these poets. And I have up to Nanda Das. And if I were going to go and engage in that, I would definitely go for Nanda Das. And one bit of a story that I remember. So Nanda Das, at that time there was a lot of Muslim intervention. It's not always intervention, but like sarcasm and disrespect. And Nanda Das was a very, divya drishti, had divine vision. And he had a darshan of the Ras Leela and wrote about it. And he sang this pada. I don't think I have it on the tip of my fingers. It might take too long. I'll send you the number. But the Badshah, the Badshah heard it. I'm not sure whether it was Akbar or another one. And the last two words of the poem are Nipat, Nikat, very near, where he says that I saw him very nearby. Like inside these silent words, Nipat, Nikat. Now you must have heard of this lady, Rupa Manjari, in Shyam Das's literature. No? So very well. She's written of in the Dosovavan Vaishnav. That there are 252 featured Vaishnavas in Pushtimar, where their life story before they became a devotee and afterwards, and how is all written down. And she's also mentioned her name, Rup Manjari. And they were very good friends because she understood his language. He understood her. She also wrote a bit like you must have heard of the Taj Bibi at Rasakan.
You told me about it.
So, they just, it doesn't say how. And I always wonder, but what's the point of knowing? Sometimes things are known as just come from Padapratita, from having faith in the lotus feet of Radharani. Those things become evident, and you don't need to know, the actual details. But they both gave up their body, feeling extremely guilty about revealing the secret of Thakurji and Sri Swaminiji on that Ras Leela night. They decided that they shouldn't do that, and they shouldn't do that anymore. So they just both gave up their bodies at Manasi Ganga. And I think that those two people having such strong belief in what they're doing and that it's correct and it's not now the right time of government, that these people who are very impure rulers and enforce nasty, violent government upon the devotees should not be allowed to know the words. So just those two words, nipat nikat, and that meant that they no longer would put these out there. The same, there's a full story of Kumbandas, Sri Vallabh son, and he lived in Yamunawata. Have you been to Yamunawata? If you're coming to Govardhan from Vrindavan, yes, Govardhan from Vrindavan, there is a small village. It's a delight to visit. The old man and old women who really keep this where Kumbandas met Vallabhacharyaji, and this kind of statues of, carvings of how his life was. Vallabhacharyaji asked him, Kumbandasji, how many sons do you have? And he said, 1.5. He actually had 7. And they said, well, why do you say that? He said, because one is my Chaturbhuj Das, who's an equal in prowess poet. And one is Krishna Das, who looks after the present cows of Srinathji. And he got bitten by and killed by a lion in the jungles, because all of those, if you've been recently to walking around Govardhan, you see all the roads and cars. There were none of that. None. It was sandy pathways and walking or nothing. So nowadays, for me, for all, going there and having all these crowds and all these cars and all these buses and all these thousands and thousands of people all over the place, it makes a big change.
Yeah, I was going to ask you exactly that, because I've heard so many people, the contrast they feel of what it means to be in Vrindavan now than it was even 5-10 years ago. So what to speak someone like you who has been there from 50
Look,
years ago.
approximately 10 to 15 years ago, there were no cars. I remember being in Jetipur and a car came and some kids ran out. Look, there's a car! There's a car coming! Come on! It was one bus per day
Like a
or
UFO or
walk.
something. Yeah.
And you used to be able to go down to the banks of the Yamuna, which were sparkling white, not one piece of rubbish. And we were ignorant idiots then, because we now say Ganga Snan Yamuna Pan. You can bathe in the Yamuna, but don't bathe in, bathe in Ganga, don't bathe in Yamuna. But we used to bathe in the Yamuna, and the waters were sparkling clear, like Bisleri soda. And you could just be in there with the banks of the river, you know, full of forests and trees. And there were Falari men who lived there and just lived on the banks and ate fruit. And so all of that kind of beautifully beloved, incredible, you would never believe it kind of stuff. And then having to see the kind of stuff that actually goes on. You know, I mean, last year, I didn't go out here in Holi. Last year in Vrindavan, I got attacked with cement and gulal. My eye is still not better. It's okay, but I have to use eye drops every day. You know, it's not like it was. But as somebody, you know, in Barsana, you don't get much different answers. Shriji Icha. That's it. Shriji Icha.
It's the will of Sri Radha. Okay. The desire of her.
Somebody said you get your prarabdha back, and I said I've just got it back for the last 10 years. Can I please go without now? The dog bite is the worst, because the dentist in Vrindavan is my friend. I'm going there tomorrow. And he said to me, you do know that none of these vaccines are vegetarian. So I said, well, you know, I haven't had any of them. I didn't have COVID. I didn't have whatever anybody wants to give me. But I managed to get away with that. But I didn't get away with this. And everybody, including respected members and dear members of society, have said, you've risked it with the monkeys, but don't risk it with those dogs, the gutter dogs.
Yeah.
So
I got bitten by a dog myself a few years ago in Radhakund,
the what?
and had to get the vaccine. Yeah. Krishna Kinkari, I'm wondering, of course, you started our whole conversation and you repeatedly resort to Sri Radha. You are living at Barsana, her place. And sometimes Pusthimarga is mostly or well known by some, more in connection to Vatsalya Bhav, to the parental mood. But there's also this current in connection to Sri Radha, if you would like to share a few words in that connection.
Yes, well, that is something which just kind of happened to me also, quite unexpectedly and very naturally and progressively. There are not that many Radha, Radhe. I don't like saying even Radhe. I like to say, if somebody says to me, Jai Shri Krishna, I say Jai Shri Radha. Here, especially. I don't particularly like constant Jai Shri Krishna. You know, this constant and continuous Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. I don't personally, you know, I say it frankly, I don't find that particularly attractive to my soul.
And just to clarify, this mantra, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, is very chanted in the Vallabh Sampradaya, especially. Just to
it's supposed to be Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama all the time. But I just, I came in 2010 with some Gujarati boys. I call them boys. They were men, actually. One of them was quite a painting man, and his paintings of they'd been lost in Gokul to the developers. Sri Yamunaji, Sri Vallabh Acharyaji, and Sri Naji. He painted them, and they've been up on there in Baitak number 1 for a long time. But I just have this completely natural desire and pure satisfaction through the pronunciation of Sri Radhana. And they had bought a deity in Radha Kund, and they said to me, it looks to be necessary to give you this deity from Radha Kund. Would you like to serve? And I said, yes, please. And then that kind of transformed the character of my service also. I mean, I would say the character of my service has definitely gone down because I am not able to do kind of seva. And then I chose to leave the building that I had developed to live in, and that lots of donations and unfortunate circumstances. But I've even said, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. Shriji Iksha. It's quite funny. I wanted to get some picture frames. Someone told me that there's a shop in the market in Barsana. So I went in and was asking. We were waiting for the owner to come out. And when he came out, he was quite not fancily, but smartly dressed devotee guy with nice dhoti and a gold necklace. And he saw me looking at his necklace. And he saw me and said, the pictures that you've got are Pusthimargi. Do you have a predilection? Da, 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 da. And I said, I love all Vrindavan Sampradayas. I love Radha Vallabh. I love the Mahavani. I love the Bayalis Leela. I love their presentations of the Ras Leela. But I can't, even from before I knew that it existed, I had a kind of like a deep desire for the Pusthimarga. It had to be there. It was just what I started writing was different to my consciousness. And so there, where I just had the little tiny Krishna deity, and that's also another story. I wish you were here. I have the pictures that I drew when I lived in the temple, and what I drew. I might give them to Cristobal if he promises only to show them to you, because they're very personal. But when you see them, you'll realize that that was how I was developing in need for the need to serve the stunning and glorious beauty of Radharani. And not always, Krishna's doing this or Krishna's doing that, or Balak Leela and all those baby stories. I don't find them attractive anymore. And not that I don't find them attractive. Of course, they're wonderful. But I kind of, I don't know, went behind the curtains. Don't know how to say it. So anyway, this man with his gold necklace on, and he said, "Oh, you're Pushtimarga," he said. "Oh, no, 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 that was the reason. They asked me, will you have a cup of tea? Will you have a glass of water? Will you have some prasad?" And I said, right now, no, thank you. I try not to be rude, but I don't take anything from anywhere. So I said, right now, no, I don't have time. But as a general rule, I don't take prasad outside my house. So the woman came out now. So she said, "Look at us," she said, "we're the Radha Vallabhis. We don't have to do any rules. And you do all the rules." She said, and we had a good laugh. And then there was an old man in a kanti shop who knew Shyam Das and Asim Krishna Das and all the old, the first foreigners who came to Vrindavan or wherever it was. And he knew my guru and he knew all the personalities and he had copies of the old books. So it's an interesting kind of network of these people. Do you know Hari Radha Charan Das from UK?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
He's been very helpful.
Not in person, but we've been in touch online. Yeah.
And then there's another guy from Punjab, Lakshya, in Canada. And he writes, as in the name of Madhuri Dasi. And his stuff is stunning. I mean, really stunning. And then also, I was in UK and I found a book called the Radha Sudhanidhi Stotra, the 270 verses. And I fell in love. I fell in love with these verses in Sanskrit of Hit Hari Vamsh. Yeah. I mean, absolutely stunning verses. So I bought 2 of the books. They were on sale from £7 to £1. And I think I bought 2 or 3. And I have one everywhere because that's, I mean,
Yeah, that's a main book in our tradition as well. Though there is some difference of opinion about the authorship of it. We may say Prabodhananda Saraswati, but anyhow, for me that's a secondary point. The book in itself is astonishing, as you mentioned.
The Radha Sudhanidhi Stotra bombed into my literal studies. Krishna asking whether he could possibly be allowed to be the broom that sweeps Radharani's. I mean, my seva changed from the little baby Krishna who was very Nikunj Bhav to Radha and Krishna and the baby. And I found a Natwar Gopal in a charity shop in London. Crazy, the most beautiful deity. Oh, he's in this mood here, and he's got one leg up in the air, so he's completely dancing, exactly the same color and mood and size as the Radha that these guys gave to me. So that was astounding. And then I can't, it's really strange, this kind of motorway crossing. And these 3 guys, and they lived fairly near to me in London. And then the younger one and I, we called all the Vaishnavas that we knew, and he made a holy dance, and he was Krishna. And I found in the jumble sale a big, big holy skirt. And we had a wonderful time. And he was so orthodox, this boy. And then he got married, and he suddenly became a Catholic, which was quite astounding
Interesting.
because he was so orthodox. Yeah, very interesting.
Well, maybe his wife was Catholic, I can assume.
I don't think I mean, he came from the Indian community. I don't think he had any influence to be Catholic at all.
Okay.
Very strange, but now he's called Giuseppo or something.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Krishna Kinkari, regarding the story you mentioned a moment ago about the necklace in the shop and they spotting that you were following lots of rules as a Pushtimargi, so to say. By contrast, I remember once we were talking at your place in Vrindavan at that time, and you told me that for you there is no sadhana. So that's an interesting way of putting it. So I don't know if you recall that you told me that and why you told me that. But I think it was a little bit in the context, and I'm remembering this verse
yes,
from...
okay, yes. Yeah, I was telling you about this guy Lakshya,
Yeah.
Punjabi, half
Yeah,
Punjabi girl.
I think we were talking about the Pushtimarga Lakshanani, but Sri Harirajji, that I think the first verse speaks about that when the absence of all means is the means to achieve the fruit, and when the fruit is the means,
Sarvasadhana
that is the
rahityam
blessing.
palaptau yatra sadhanam palamba sadhanam yatra pushtimarga sakatyate. Where the means is the fruit and the fruit is the means. Know that to be the pushtimarga. Yeah. That is also a very, very very, very significant text for me. Yes, 20, that's 21 verses. Again, that was one of these things that rolled off my tongue and has rolled off and rolled down the hill. It's gone down the hill. But
Yeah, but that's a beautiful point, very much in line with our Gaudiya tradition, that Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktya Sanjataya Bhaktya. Bhakti comes from Bhakti and goes to further Bhakti, and there's no fruit of Bhakti but further deepening of what we are already doing. Remember, you told me once, enjoy the ride in that connection.
The thing is,
that was your...
Quite frankly, I mean, I don't know, how old are you? 44. And you?
I'm 45.
I'm 75. So I now have a right to say, I don't want to think about what, where, why, when, and who. I just want to do it. I want to retire. I want to have freedom in my head and heart for worrying, oh, am I in the right sampradaya? Am I thinking the right things? Is that Pushtimargi? Or is that what all is? And honestly, quite frankly, in front of you now, I don't care. What I've been bunged into, I was never going to leave that house. I had built it with funds, and that all got stolen. So I took myself out of that house. I had to go and live in Jiva because this house was not ready. And my ex-husband's elder brother's son was trying to get it off me and go into the same hoo-hoo, ha-ha, and, make what he could make. So I don't care that he did that either. We just make it into a service home for Radharani, and she is very graceful. And it is what it is.
Yeah, your current situation, as you mentioned, that I really appreciate what you told me that you don't care about so many of these details and stuff. It reminds me also, yeah, about this notion that comes from the Pushtimarga of Sarvatma basically, right? Like, okay, beholding developed in everything, everywhere, and not caring for so many other things that may get in the way
Yes,
of that
yes.
experience, right?
Why and when? Why do you like Pushtimarga thing? And people ask me all sorts of things, and I say, that's my heart. I can't do anything about it. Strategy,
Mm-hmm.
when your heart is stolen, then why would you want to steal it back?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
observation is very important. Seeing which way you're taken. Yeah, it's just interesting. Very interesting. And why has my memory been taken away? I mean, that's interesting because I used to recite all the time. And now, if I can or can't, it's equally as pleasant.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me that one of our teachers in our tradition, he had a dream and he said, in that dream that I had, all my shastric knowledge was taken away, all my slokas, all my
Ah,
memory, and only my faith remains. I with my faith
oh
naked,
my
so to say, and
goodness.
nothing
Ah,
else. So I can relate to what you just say in that connection. So many other things start to need to be released, and you stand naked with your
yeah.
faith, so to say, right?
I mean, that is scary.
Mm.
And we were
Mm-hmm.
reading Bhakti Vardhini, How to Increase Devotion, one of Acharyaji's 16 treatises. And, it's that question, is the house you live in, do they support you doing your seva? Are they just neutral?
Mm-hmm.
Or number one,
Mm-hmm.
or are they helping? So, being part of the seva, number two. And number three, if they are contrary,
Inimical.
yes, yes, yes. If they're contrary, then get out. If they support you, but, are not really interested, they only do it because they kind of have to, or it's a family thing, then that's okay.
Mm.
And if they kind of take you away and, the Yatha Bhakti Pravridhasya, how does bhakti increase, then let it be. Don't force anything.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids were brought up as Pushtivaris. They know how to bathe, Thakurji, and la di da, but they were educated in London. And I'm happy that they were, because they had a very good education and they had suitable Pushtimargi education at home. And they have the name of the Lord on their lips all the time. But they went to university in England. It's demanding, you know. So they are okay where they are. They're vegan, so that's a good job done.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
they've been here so many times, but they've never had to kind of bring themselves up worrying about, the people who, does anybody come to clean your gutter out daily? So they like solid conditions. And my son went traveling to New Zealand, got caught up in COVID, and then he was offered a very good job in New Zealand. And I mean, he lived at the bottom of the back garden in a wooden shed in London. We were not well off. And he's comfortable. I'm very happy for him. Yeah.
Nice.
I have to go to
Krishna
UK
Kinkari.
this summer to renew my passport because I've done 5 years of student now.
When will you be there? By that which time? I may be at the UK at the same time.
Oh, wow.
For us pats there.
24th of July.
August? You arrive on 24th of July. Okay, I will let you know in private conversation.
Yeah, I have a tiny little room, but the temple room is really nice. It has a garden behind it, and yeah.
I met your temple in Vrindavan, so I'm now eager to meet your UK expansion.
Yeah,
there.
I chucked off. You know, when the children moved out, I sold the house that they were brought up in and bought a tiny little place just so that everybody has a UK address and it's useful for them.
Yeah.
And then gave them the money. So avoided paying the inheritance tax to the government. Because it's a long time. So that's good for them.
Krishna Kinkari, I don't want to take much more of your time, but one last thing that comes to my mind, since you were referring a moment ago about at the stage of your life that you are in, and what I was mentioning, how, maybe losing some memory, forgetting some shlokas, having to release things, being standing naked with your faith, how scary that may be. And I'm connecting all that with the idea of Sharanagati or surrender. And I remember in the book of that we were talking about a moment ago, it closes with the Pancha Shloki, which includes the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, which also we quote that verse and we revere this notion in our tradition. So I just wanted to ask you how do you live this Sharanagati, this surrender at this stage of your life?
Okay, well, I'm quite happy that Yamuna Sevika picked me off the floor and revived me with drips of water for I'm sure when she fed me like a bird. And this one that you're talking about with the mouth going funny, I'm not just going to let it go and just drop. I should do that maybe. But I'll be good and behave myself and let's see what else I have to experience.
Any final insight you will offer to help me, our listeners, to go deep sure into their surrender?
Very much more qualified than I to know, but I think I've been led along with a blindfold, and Rasa Khan's verse. Do you know this one? Suniye sabaki kahiye na kachu rahiye imiyar bababagarame. No? Let me find this one. This one is worth listening to.
Okay.
Found it. That's not to say that I think that you have to be in Braj at all times. It's your heart that has to be in Braj. Suniye sabaki kahiye na kachu rahiye imiya bababagarame. Kariye bratanema sachai liye jinate tariye manasagarame. Miliye sabason durabhava bina. Rahiye satsang ujagarame. Rasakana Govinda Kuyom Bhajiye Jiminagari Ko Chitta Gagarami. Listen to everyone, but don't say a word. In this way, you will survive this world of birth and death. Sincerely and truthfully perform your vows and austerities. You will thus cross the ocean of the mental realm. Meet all with never a bad feeling towards them, but stay in the light of saintly company. Rasakan, Rasakan says, worship Sri Krishna, the protector of the cows, in the same way that a village lady concentrates on the water pot balanced upon her head. So it's a very, suitable verse, because that concentration has to be so perfect. It just has to be so perfect. You can't let go for a minute. But don't say a word. Rasakan and says, worship Sri Krishna, the protector of the cows, in the same way that a village lady concentrates on the water pot balanced upon her head. And it is quite a skill. Yeah, it's quite a skill. Takes some time to practice it. So I think that puts everything it just puts everything in a box and puts everything together. And wherever you are and whatever you have to do, do it with your heart focused. I mean, if I start, we'll be here for at least 25 years. If this opens, wow.
Yes, as I like to say, we have eternity on our side, so eternity will support us for perpetual sharing without interruption.
I didn't really understand that. There's so many things I could show you, and next time, I don't know how many of the poems are in that property or in this property, because I don't remember. And it used to really bother me. And when I was trying to set up this house, it drove me nuts because I couldn't find where I'd put my Tapaji's clothes. I had to keep opening things, and there wasn't room. But
yeah, we will have a chance of sharing all that in
yes.
detail when we meet in person.
Actually, you know what? I mean, I've been thinking that I don't know. These are the only thing that I think I would like people to treasure when I die, when I leave my body. These are the things that really mean. They are me. They're my personality. They're things that I've chosen. Maybe I'll just try to, but I won't waste your time. It's just a few things. So, yeah. Sri Vallabh, Sri Vallabh, Sri Vallabh, Sri Vallabh. Dehi mohi darshana rupa anupa. Sharana ki seva karlo nirantara, to me janu apano swarupa. Marga siddhanta tyajyahu nahi kabuhu. Sabhi acharyon mein bhu. Shri Nakachandra kripa pe namra saki. Charat andatan makupa. I write under the name of Namra Saki. So Shivalabh, 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 Shivalabh. Dehi moi darshana rupa anupa. Give me my proper, make me learn what is my what is my true destiny by saying Vallabh, 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 Vallabh. Let me keep the principles of the path and know who I really am. Let me know his principles because he's one of the great acharyas, and I will know what my personality should be. And the personality should be that of humility and seva. Thus, I can't find it at the moment. Never mind. Suniye Sabaki is a good one. Shamdas used to call me Mrs. Rasakan because I wear all these Sundays. And he said, "You're like Mrs. Rasakan." It was funny. Rasakan Samadhi is a lovely place. Some nice personalities there.
We'll
You've
go
been?
there next time.
No.
Cool.
Naughty. You must go to Rasakan Samadhi. One place that the government has really, upheld and maintains beautifully. Really, really interesting.
Yeah. You took me there. You took me there
Oh,
last
I did?
year. Yeah, we were there. We were passing the broom, cleaning.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience. Thank you so much, Krishna Kinkari. Thank you. Pranam. I'm very grateful to have you here today. For those who do not know, we tried like 2-3 times to do this conversation. It couldn't happen for many reasons, and I'm very happy and
it's
joyful that
been
we
quite a
finally were able to
task
do it.
getting us together, huh?
But we are quite stubborn, so we did it. Here we are.
Yeah. But thank you. I think that
Thank you.
when you are able to really constructively appreciate the effort that you have to put in for those things to come out, and then they take on their own Brahma Shakti and pour back in by grace. So that's your kindness for doing that. Thank you very much. And this guy has been very good as well.
Yeah, thank you, our dear Krishna Premji, who has been a facilitator for the conversation as well. Gracias, amigo. Gracias, Krishna Kinkari.